If you're going to ride this monster, you better put Jesus on the front and pray before you go. This bike is angrier than Joe Pesci in a Martin Scorsese film. This is the Yamaha Striker's big brother, the Yamaha Raider. 1900cc, 113 cubic inch, however you want to look at it. It's 100 horsepower of pure, raw rage. Absolute rage. 21-inch front tire, twin rotors in the front, 4 pistons to stop you. It's got a hydraulic clutch as well. 4.2-gallon gas tank. They're saying it averages 40-ish miles per gallon. I think that depends on the restraint of your throttle hand. The wheelbase is almost 71 inches. That's approximately the length of a football field. 40-degree rake. Awesome, just like the Yamaha Striker. It is technically longer than a Yamato-class battleship. And there's your belt drive, 5-speed. Let's go for a ride and see what this beastie's all about. The first thing you're going to notice if you jump on the Yamaha Raider is that it is definitely a big boy bike. I'm 5'9½" and my arms were fully outstretched to the handlebars when sitting back fully in the seat. But tons and tons of legroom. You know, I had a viewer message me and he said he's 6.5 feet tall, and at the time I gave him some recommendations. If you're watching, you can add this to the list I gave you. When hard throttling the Yamaha Raider, you're going to notice your 0 to 60 time being completely outlandishly quick. It's about 3.8 seconds. And it's got G-forces that would make Chuck Yeager absolutely jealous. Hard throttling this bike is a total thrill. Pushrod engineering, but wow, this sucker pulls like crazy. Yamaha made the Raider from 2008 to 2018. They discontinued it because they were having trouble with the costs associated with allowing it to meet the emissions requirements. And when you find a used Yamaha Raider or Striker, they're usually not that old. Not as old as the BTX 1300s and 1800s you tend to see. And with the Yamaha build quality, they're usually in pretty good shape. This bike with its muscle bike motor reminds me so much of my VTX 1800. Now my VTX 1800 is liquid cooled, this is air cooled, so there's a bit of a difference there. That does turn some people off when they're riding in the summer. I don't mind the air cooled motors. I had an air cooled Victory Hammer, which was fantastic. This will also remind you of the Indian Chief 111 with the Thunderstroke motor. You can check out that review as well I made of the Indian Chief on TG MotoRider. 21-inch tall front wheel. You got a 120 on the front, a 210 on the back, just like the Striker, but it's got curves that would make Beyonce Knowles jealous. Now, when it comes to the tire selection, I went with the Metzlers on my Striker. With this tire setup, with the 120 and the 210, it's the same tire setup pretty much as the Yamaha Striker. So you're going to find yourself rolling with the Metzler 888s, or you could do the 2CT Michelins, but you're going to end up with a 240 on the back instead of the 210. That's just something to keep in mind. The overlap on the gears is very generous from first through fifth. Even in fifth gear, it doesn't really need a sixth gear the way this motor winds out. And even at your upper speeds, even in 75 or cruising at 80, fifth gear is very quiet. It has a long way to go before you begin to tap the motor out. So you feel stable, you feel very capable, even at higher speeds on this bike. I would not recommend this bike for a new rider, just because of the speed, the torque, the weight. Even though it does have a very low center of gravity, still at 730 pounds wet, it conducts itself beautifully, but if you're a new rider, you might not be ready for all the torque. Having the two rotors, having the 4 pistons on the front give this thing awesome stopping power, even with all the weight. You hard brake and this thing bites down really well. And I really like the hydraulic clutch. The hydraulic clutch pull, super easy. And I'm not going to lie to you, I actually prefer the belt drive on this over the shaft drive on my VTX 1800. You do have so much power loss with a shaft drive. You can lose up to 1/3 of your power to the rear wheel on a shaft, whereas a belt is much more efficient with the transfer of power. with 5.1 inches of travel in the front and 3.5 inches in the back. Very comfortable ride. You know, I know a lot of times in the rear they give you more like 3.8 or 4 on a lot of these cruisers. The 3.5 didn't bother me at all. Matter of fact, I thought the ride was incredibly comfortable, and 5.1 inches, that's about what you get on a VTX 1300. So I was very comfortable with the ride. You know, I thought it was a pretty comfortable ride, pretty plush. I didn't feel like it was jarring or too bumpy at all. Even though it is raked out 40 degrees in the front, it really doesn't come into play that direly. When you are riding this bike, it still performs exceptionally well in the corners. And I think it's because it has a really low center of gravity. You know, when you press into the corners and you counter steer, this bike falls right in beautifully. There are no issues with the rake as far as I'm concerned in terms of performance. No, it's not going to corner like my Kawasaki Versys 650, but it does corner very, very well. And my Yamaha Striker has the same rake, 40 degrees, and I've enjoyed it. I've had no problems with it, not to mention that rake makes this bike look absolutely stunning. Now, no motorcycle is perfect, and in my opinion, what they could have done better with this one is just give it a bigger gas tank. 4.2 gallons, if you're going to tour with this beast, is just not enough, because you're not going to get the 42 miles per gallon they're claiming. Nobody rides that anemically, especially not a monster like this, and this bike is comfortable enough, in my opinion, to go across the country in. For a muscle bike, it is very, very comfortable. You know, so I would tour with it. So 1 more gallon would have made it absolutely perfect. So used Yamaha Raiders, you're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 if you troll Cycle Trader or the marketplace, things like that. You could find a used VTX 1800 for probably $2,000 to $3,000 less than that. But it's probably going to be about 10 years older. So should you spend $6,000 to $8,000 on a muscle bike built by a keyboard company? Yes, you should. I spent the day on this thing, and the last thing I wanted to do was give it back. I melded with this bike. It became a part of me so quickly. I absolutely adored it, fell in love with it, and I am seriously mulling over making this my 19th motorcycle. I absolutely adored it. And yeah, totally worth it. I don't care that it's air-cooled. I don't care it doesn't have a radiator. I think it looks great. It sounds great, and it rides amazingly. This is one of those bikes, they're just iconic, and you just can't stop looking at it. And a lot of people, when they see it, they have no clue what it is. But it is amazing, and very easy on the eyes. And as I was on it, the only thing I kept thinking is, if Honda had made this should have been the Fury, not the VT 1300 anemic little motor they made and put in that thing. But this is way more furious. This is what the Honda Fury should have been. That's the only thing I kept thinking the whole time I was on it. And the Honda Fury is a great bike. You can watch that review on TG MotoRider. But this is what it should be.
This is a 740-pound Prozac pill. It is absolutely awesome. Ask your doctor if the Yamaha Raider's right for you. Absolutely awesome. Can't think of one thing wrong with it. Definitely a tall man's bike. From there to there, lots of leg room, lots of arm room. If you're a taller person, you will adore this thing, absolutely. I got nothing bad to say about it other than it's absolutely amazing. Yes, I would buy this muscle bike with pushrod engineering made by a keyboard company, for sure.
Thank you so much for subscribing. I've been a stuntman for film and television for 30 years, and motorcycles are my passion. I'm a daily rider, and I appreciate all the viewers out there. Thank you for watching. That's my review of the Yamaha Raider. Put Jesus on the front, pray before you go. TG MotoRider, signing off.